I don't know how well or successfully this video is going to come out. Hopefully the way I'm doing it will work. I've got a head torch on so that I can highlight some of the things that I'm speaking about here. But we got as far as I was pretty sure that I'd nailed this camshaft cover and bush carrier as a culprit for the oil leak, so I made up a gasket for it because I saw in the parts list that it should have a gasket. There wasn't one, or there were a few little papery remnants of one and a load of rotten sealant, but anyway, I've dealt with it. I've made up a new gasket for it and also put sealant on both sides of that gasket. So unscrewed this up tightly, tapped it with a mallet, tightened it up again. So I think I've got everything as good as it gets there. And I've also got oil in the primary chain case up to the level again. And at the moment, although it's early days, we're all nice and clean under there. And hopefully it's going to stay that way. And I've actually got this camshaft tunnel full of oil again. And I've done that by using my trusty squirty oil can here and removing the rocker cover and basically pumping a load of oil in there so that it could find its way down the pushrod tunnels and into the camshaft area. And around this side of the engine I've got the drain plug for the crankcase removed, which is what you have to take out to deal with wet sumping. And I've got some clean oil, or cleanish oil there, collected in this tub, because it's obviously I've overflowed the camshaft tunnel and it's overflowed into the crankcase and come out the drain. Now I wanted that to happen to act as a telltale that I definitely filled the camshaft tunnel full of oil, because I'm going to be watching for leaks obviously, and I'll be leaving it overnight, and hopefully I'll have a look at the end of the day and I'll have a look tomorrow, but I'm hoping not to see any signs of any oil there or even there. And I'm fairly confident that that'll be the case at last. But I decided to pump the oil in here because otherwise I would have had to wait until I'd got the magneto back from being refurbished and overhauled and put back on and timed up and everything, and got the bike ready to run again in order to get oil pumped into the camshaft tunnel and then find out whether or not I fixed the problem. So to jump the gun a little bit, I knew that if I could get this filled with oil somehow, I'd then be able to obviously tell if it was leaking. So that's what I've done. But overall, this was the last culprit. I suspected even a porous casting of the crankcase in the oil tank area, and I even thought I saw a slight imperfection in the casting which could have been a culprit, but it wasn't. But we've obviously had the leak from this. We've had a leak where the inner primary chain case joins the crankcase, and we've also had a leak where the primary cover fits the inner case. And one by one and bit by bit they've all been dealt with, and finally I'd like to think that I'm home and dry with it. And also it turns out that the oil feed pump that wore out very quickly was one of a faulty batch, and I'll be getting a replacement obviously, but it turns out that obviously it was nothing down to anything I'd done. It was the plunger apparently was a couple of thou smaller in diameter than it should have been, so it was too loose a fit in the pump disc to begin with, and obviously 50 miles was enough mileage to cause very rapid wear and obviously give rise to the wet sumping problem that I didn't have initially when I first fitted the pump. So that's reassuring news for me anyway, and it was nothing that I'd done, and thankfully it can be fixed. So hopefully at last we might be on the home straight with this one, and I'm sure when the magneto comes back from Tony Cooper that'll be top notch as well. And maybe, just maybe, we might also have this one running on 2 cylinders. Just imagine this Constellation running on 2 cylinders even starting up and ticking over and not leaking oil. How good could it get? Watch this space.